Hey guys, Darcy here again today, and I got another video going over Luna for hip hop production. I wanted to go over a few things around the editing of audio regions. Last time I did a video on the actual mixer view, which is all your channel strips, but I wanted to go over actually just editing the specific audio region. So let's jump into it right now. First off, this is the mixer view, and this here is the actual timeline with all of your individual regions, all right? And if you saw my last video, these are the drums from the same track as before. I've muted and hidden my melodies and 808s because we're going to actually go into chopping something up so you can actually see some of the things that I like and how they get used. But before we go into actually chopping that stuff up, I want to go over some keyboard shortcuts and some of the things that you need to know in terms of editing the regions, and a thing that you can do called the mode and the warps that you need to be aware of, okay? So let's jump into this. First off, the first keyboard shortcut that we need to talk about is just the letter E on your keyboard. When you select any region, whether it's a small portion like this or a whole region by clicking on the lower part, then when you hit E, it'll make it big. So if I hit E again, it goes back. If I select the small part, boom, E. Now, something else to note, I'm going to tell the keyboard shortcuts as I do them. If I hold Option up and down, or sorry, Control Option, it's funny when you have keyboard shortcuts down, but then when you try to say them out loud, you do the wrong ones. So if I do Control Option up and down, it'll make all of them bigger or smaller. If I go Control up or down, it'll make just the selected track bigger or smaller, okay? So, and if I go Control Option Command down, it'll make everything fit within the window. So let's make the kick one bigger to look at, and we're going to zoom in. I'm just using my trackpad to do the zooming right now. And something to note, actually I'm gonna make this one touch smaller, that Luna does a lot involving with contextual use of your mouse. So when you're in the upper half of the clip, it's essentially a selection tool. When you're in the lower half, it is like a click and drag tool. And depending on the different features you're using, essentially the top and the bottom half will switch. So like the top half is like a fade, and your bottom half is a trim tool, right? Okay. So now let's go into a couple of keyboard shortcuts that are super beneficial that you need to know, and that we're going to be using throughout this video. So I'm going to select a bit of a region here. If I go and hit B, it'll basically break at the beginning and ends of this clip that I've selected. Command Z there. If I do Command E, it does the same thing, okay? If I do just select one spot and hit B, it'll break there too, okay? Now, if I select, say, an area and I hit A, it'll trim everything up to the beginning of that clip. And if I do S, it'll do everything to the end of that clip, okay? And then if I do Command T, it'll trim both of them together, basically the beginning and the ends, all right? Now, if we say break this and we want to apply a fade, we can click and drag, but we can also just select a region, hit F, and that'll do the fade as well. And if we say, I'm gonna break this here, if we just click the bottom half to select the whole thing, that's one of those contextual moves, and just hit F, it'll apply a minor fade on either ends. It's the same amount every time for every clip, but it's just a fast way that if you say did a whole bunch of breaks along this track and you just want to fade everything at once, you can hit that fade, it'll apply everything, and you can go and look for what you need to make modifications to. Okay, so now we've hit a bunch of the keyboard shortcuts that we need to go into. I'll probably think of a few more later, but hey, you know, there's just a lot in this. One of the benefits of Luna is that it's super fast from a keyboard perspective. It's really focused there, so they're really beneficial to learn. Okay, so now let's go into a couple of things we need to know on the clip itself. We have two features at play here, okay? And one is that we have clip gain up and down, which is the actual changing of the audio file itself, not the fader on the channel. And then we also have pitch, okay? So let's play this and I'm gonna show you what I mean. So on the left here, we have a channel strip for the kick, and let's hit play. And then I'm gonna change the gain and we'll see what happens. Oops, I totally forgot to mute something that is for later. Let's mute that up. Make sure this one's not playing too. Cool. Well, there we go. And I scared the hell out of you because I scared the hell out of myself. Okay, let's do this. You see how it's hitting -3 now? Down there in the bottom left, right? That's because I'm bringing up the gain on the audio itself, which is talking about stuff like gain staging. When I hit this up negative or plus 8.5, look at the tape, which is my saturation plugin it's running through, and look how much it's hitting. It's going over 0. Now, if I bring this back down to 0, the saturation will be less. And I can always then dial up if I want to the fader. Or back down, or bring it back down. This is something important to know. Let's say someone sends you some stems and everything's just really loud. I'll grab everything, immediately double click on one of these, go -6, and it'll bring them all down because they're all selected, okay? That's to help you with your gain staging, because you have to think the way the audio signal flows, it goes in from the input, down through the tape, through your inserts, goes out to your sends if you have them, and then comes into your fader. And a lot of people don't get this. They think that this volume thing at the end, oh, if it's too loud, I'll turn this down. That's taking something that's loud and distorted and bringing the volume down. That is like listening to a bad radio station with all the crackle and just turning the volume down. It doesn't change the crackle, it just reduces how loud it is in your ears. If you want to fix the crackle, you got to actually adjust the station. To adjust the station, you got to actually do the gaining on the actual audio itself, as long as that signal or that file isn't distorted and broken on in and of itself. So that's when you control how loud it is from the actual audio file before it hits your saturation. It'll be a cleaner sound, and then it'll go through your plugins and it'll be a cleaner sound, and within them you control gain. Gain staging is the whole thing. I digress, but I talk about it in almost every other video because it's so important. Okay, now let's listen to what happens when we play with the semi. So this is going up in whole and semitones, so we can just play with it. So. One thing I really like is that it's very real time. I found that Logic was a little bit delayed. You'd have to kind of like apply it and then hit save, or not hit save. You have to apply it, pause for a second, then it would apply. Now, something also really important to note here. Let's say we break this up into 3 different audio files, right? Like split this. Each one of these is independent. It's not per the track, right? So we have that level of finite control. And you can hear how it's hitting the saturation different between the first and the second one. Even though it's quieter, there's a difference in the saturation. We can also apply that semitone differences. I don't know why, I'm kind of feeling that just there alone. And then, yeah, so we have that flexibility, okay? Super beneficial. Let's say you get some vocals that come in and there's like a word or something that's just too loud. You don't always have to go and try to figure out the right plugin. You can just sometimes go and grab just a portion of it and bring that down, right? Maybe you want to do something where you flip a sample a couple of different ways, and you can do that instead of having to have, say, 2 different tracks where one is pitching with a plugin and the other one's the original sample or something weird like that. It's just simple to kind of grab and change the semitones right then and there. It's super easy. So let's Command Z all that all the way back. Cool. So we're back to normal, right? And so those are a couple of really important things. But there's something else, actually two more things that are super beneficial to the clips themselves, okay? And this is all of this right now is set up to actually doing something with these. So on the left side here, we have the mode and the warp that are super beneficial, okay? So right now, all of my tracks are in tempo mode, okay? And I think I talked about this a little bit in my last video, but I'm gonna talk about it again, okay? So when you bring a clip in and you drag something in, I'm just gonna grab my splice real quick. We're not gonna listen to the sound. We're just gonna grab something like, bam, grab that, drop that in, okay? By default, it comes in as time, okay? So what does that mean? Well, time, so we can see right here, this is actually ironically the same tempo as my track, so it's like perfectly on grid. Let me bring the gain down this and listen to 2 seconds actually. Woo, so loud, bring it down even more. I'm not really feeling it, but anyways, so right now, when it's on time mode, if I change the tempo, let's say we make this like 100 BPM, you see how everything else stays perfectly on the grid. The grid being like bars 1, 2, 3, 4. Yet this one changed. It's because right now, when you adjust the BPM, the mode is on time. So it keeps itself relative to the second bar, which is minutes and seconds. Whereas the first one will stretch itself out to match the bars. So whichever one you're aligning it to. Do you want to align it to time? Do you want to align it to the bars? And the thing is, when we're sampling, we want to align it to the bars, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to Command Z that back. Now it's back in time with the song because the sample is ironically 136. And then we're going to switch this to tempo mode. Now when we bring this down to 100, boom, it stays input. Super beneficial. And here, let's get into something that Luna does that's really, really nice. So they have multiple different like time warping, pitch kind of warping modes that you have access to. So let's bring this back to 136, okay? So we hit mode, or sorry, not mode. We hit warp, and then we have multiple different ways of doing the algorithms. Polyphonic, which is for stuff that are like melodic instruments. So basically everything that plays a melody or harmony. This is also can be beneficial for like I have to play with this a bit with voices, whether I use monophonic or polyphonic. It sometimes just kind of comes down to the feel. But in general, I feel like it's monophonic, but I don't know. Sometimes every time I hit a song with vocals, it's different. But pianos and guitars and all those other melodic instruments, you put them on polyphonic unless it's like a bass, then sometimes it can be mono. When it comes to drums, I always put it on monophonic. So, and then there's vari speed. Vari speed is a more complicated thing, but vari speed is done for when you are doing something that, you are going to record at a different, say, tempo, and then you want to, say, change the tempo, and you want to then speed up and slow down and actually sound like it's pitch shifting, so it sounds like the chipmunk sound or sounds like the deep devil sound. And I've actually had vari speed come into heavy play when I had somebody actually stretch their stuff in Adobe Audition, and it wasn't stretching it to tempo, it was stretching it to time, and it stretched it in a very weird way, and so I had to use vari speed, which was super weird, but it worked. Then Luna has razor blade and polyphonic. So Luna polyphonic is basically Luna's version of polyphonic, and razor blade is their version of monophonic, but more specifically coded for drums. So let's say, for instance, we grab all of these, and we're going to switch them all from polyphonic to razor blade, and leave this one on polyphonic. Now let's listen back, and I'm going to drop the tempo as we're playing. So we're going to listen to this region. Okay, let's listen to the drums specifically, okay? A little too slow for me, so let's go like 120. Okay, so obviously it's in time, it's slower, but when we switch it to like monophonic, see how it's like choppy? When you bring it down like 20, 16 like BPM, these things don't usually work very well. So monophonic again. Okay, now let's go over back to razor blade. That shit is smooth, okay? That stuff sounds natural, and yet it is super slow in comparison to what it's supposed to be. So bring us back up to like, let's say 150. Let's go monophonic. It's clippy. All right, let's try polyphonic. Let's go back to razor. There's still slight differences. Now you can always do this to whatever creative texture you want, but it's good to know that these settings are here and to mess with them. I'm curious what Varispeed does to it. See how it's like pitching it up? It's kind of chipmunking, but they're drums, so it doesn't really chipmunk, you know, but like you get the idea, right? So, let's put these back onto razor blade, bring this back to 136. And actually, now I'm gonna bring this one back in. And actually, I want to Varispeed this one, so it should be normal right now because we locked in the tempo mode when it was at 136. So let's now, these are all razor blades, so they should sound the same when we pitch it down, but then this one should sound different. That actually got kind of cool. Right, then we'll go 150. So that's what Varispeed does. Varispeed is like that very natural, or not natural, that very old school way of doing speeding up and slowing down, where if I go back to polyphonic versus Varispeed. See, like, these are options. And I'm doing all this without a plugin so far. Like, everything you're seeing is just like, these are just settings, which is why I love this tool, because they're just super simple things that like work the way that I'm thinking, okay? So let's mute this one because I'm not feeling it as much. And we're gonna jump into, there is one more thing I actually kind of want to show. Actually, let me bring that back real quick. Apparently I can't Command Z my way or something, or I'm just not hitting Command Z right. So there's another tool in here. When you hit on view and you have clips, you have multiple different options for things. One of them being warps, okay? Warps is super beneficial, especially for messing with vocals. And you see this stuff all the time in all the Ableton tutorials. It is essentially just like allowing you to line stuff up to the grid. So dragging stuff. If by default it'll it'll try to lock into the grid. If you hold Command while selecting something, then you can just do whatever you want, which is super beneficial. And so if you also want to get rid of the snapping feature, the snapping feature is like up here in the top left area up by the timeline, snap on and off. And there's also a keyboard shortcut for that, which is shift and then the backslash, the one underneath the delete on your keyboard, or above the enter. Okay, so super beneficial. I use this a ton when it comes to mixing vocals so that I can get the vocals to be in time. So anyways, we can like quickly like just listen to what that does. In this case, it might not do a lot, but yeah, I still felt that swing difference. Yeah, so you get the idea, right? Super beneficial stuff. Also, quick to note, if you say when you grab the top one, you see how it drags everything. If I go from the bottom and I drag, it'll basically set markers on the left and the right of wherever I click, and so it'll only affect the one in the middle. Okay, so let's mute this one and hide it out. Okay, so now I have is these two other samples that I want to work with, and the ones that I blasted your ears with before. So let's kind of use all of these things in one go, okay? So I have this sample here, and I'm going to play this, and the first thing I'm actually going to do is grab both of these, and I'm just going to bring these down by -12. Oops, I hit the wrong keys. So -12, and then boom, boom. Okay, we're back. All right, and so I just know that it's splice, and their stuff is super hella loud. I'm probably still going to bring it down even more. Let's unmute this sample here. Oh yeah, forgot the tempo is off. Oh yeah, and first thing to note, actually now I'm thinking about it, is that this sample here is not in time with the track. So how do we resolve that? Well, Luna has a simple thing. It's the same as Logic. When you hold down Control and you click and grab the end, you just literally pull it over and it will lock it into time. It'd still be in time mode, so we want to flip that to tempo mode. Okay? So now we have this in time. Let's take a listen. All right, so I think I got a good idea there. Now I'm gonna chop this up a little bit and do it the way I like to do, because I just kind of like chopping in the editor and not using plugins that much. So I got some, just a quick vibe. Now what I'm gonna do is, now I have them all selected, I'm gonna quickly grab the fade and apply that. I'm gonna hold Command so I get that slight fade action, kind of trim it up like that. Go back, grab all of them again, and then do it from the other side. Slight fade action, and then now let's take a listen to them all back again. If I select from, oh, here's another keyboard shortcut. If I hold Shift and hit Enter from wherever I'm at, it'll take it back to the beginning. A little bit harsher in the fades than I want, so I'm just gonna zoom in, adjust, zoom in and adjust. You know, I'll just get that stuff right. I don't want it to clip. That's all I don't want. I mean, unless you're Travis Scott, you know, you might want it to clip, but it's not my style. Well, maybe sometimes it is, but not what I'm doing right now. And should be good enough. Cool. All right, so Shift Option 3, let's consolidate that. Boom, right there, you see why I consolidate. Now I got something chopped up, I like it, I've committed to it, okay? So, you know what, I actually wanna make these two a bit bigger, a bit louder. So I'm going to, I could Command Z this, but I'm just gonna do this for the sake of, actually, you know what, no, I should Command Z this. So I'm gonna go back and I'm going to up this to -15, -13.5, and then I'm gonna see how that's, those are bigger, right? Oh, I had them both selected, okay. -15, let's see how that feels. Just trying to like mess with the energy a little bit. Try to create small differences that you can feel but don't know why it is. I like it. I like its original tempo or pitch. Okay, so great. Now we got. Let's go get a vocal and bring that vocal in. Okay, so let's mess with this one. So it's off 2. So let's hold Control, grab it, boom, lock it into time. Cool, easy peasy. And we're gonna bring this one down by negative, say 18, and then unmute it. Bring this up. I'm getting ideas. I'm just gonna run it through my head. I'm not sure exactly what I want to do this part. Make that one bigger. Select it. Let's control up just to make it a little bit bigger so I can see it and see where I'm getting. Thing is, it runs right into the bar. Not quite how I want it to be. I think what I want to do with this, I'm gonna grab all this real quick. I'm trying to do with this. So I think it's something that's going to be fitting for the end of the track. End of the loop. I think it's this one I'm thinking. Oh, of course. Nope. It's not what I'm thinking. Not on the drums part. This part. Alright, let's rip this one piece at a time. Selecting that piece in the middle does a crossfade. Trying to figure out where I want to bring it back in. I like the shift and just messing with the regions in terms of, or sorry, the grid snapping. Just super easy and beneficial once you get it down. The ting ting. It's not what I want.
Machine up die Ding, Selector Boss it.
Yeah, I might be happy with that just as it is.
Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it up. Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it. Machine up die Ding, Selector Boss it. Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it up. Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it. Machine up die Ding, Selector Boss it. Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it up. Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it. Boss it. Boss it. Boss it up. Machine up die Ding, Selector Boss it. Boss it up. Machine up die Ding, Selector Boss it. Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it up. Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it. Boss it up. Machine up die Ding, Selector Boss it. Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it up. Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it. Boss it up. Machine up die Ding.
Also, to get to that warp stuff, Control, Command, right or left will take you through all of your different view options. So let's go back to that warp and see if there's anything we want to do from a warp perspective.
Machine up die Ding in a
So let's try to bring this a little like more on the grid, see how it feels.
Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it up. Machine up.
Back off.
Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it up. Machine.
Obviously, it's better. It's just good that way.
Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it up.
But we can also try some creative stuff. So let's grab a clip like right here. Drag this one out.
Boss it up. Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it. Boss it up.
All right, I want to make that second one do what I just did with the first one. So
Boss it.
that way it feels like it's like a new thing that the artist actually did.
Boss it up.
So we're going to, oops, grab that right. Nope. Get on the grid. Whatever.
Boss it up.
So let's switch between the polyphonic and monophonic.
Boss it up.
Monophonic sounds like crap right there. Very sweet.
Boss it.
Nope.
Boss it.
If it goes red like that, it's not gonna play.
Boss it.
So polyphonic, better for the vocals. Forget what I said earlier.
Boss it up. Machine up die Ding, Selector Boss it.
See, like simple, small little things. I haven't even touched a plugin. There's no plugins on this right now. I mean, there's the saturation. It was like kind of pre-built in. Actually, on that note, let's add the saturation into this. See how that feels. Oxide. Let's go.
Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it up. Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it. Boss it up. Machine up die Ding, Selector Boss it. Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it up. Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it. Boss it up. Machine up die Ding, Selector Boss it. Machine up die Ding in a Selector Boss it up.
I don't know, I'm just vibing to that. Anyways, I think that gives you a good idea. We've gone over multiple shortcuts. We've gone over dealing with the clip gain, dealing with the semitones within the clip, how you can go over the different modes, the warping, how you can do the individual flex timing on the individual sounds, how gain affects gain staging, and I think this gives you a good idea, cutting and consolidating sounds too. I think this gives you a good idea of just simple things you can do without even touching a plugin with Luna that I just find super easy, super beneficial. They're all just kind of right there, ready to go. So that's something I love about it. Anyways, hopefully you found this good. Hopefully this video wasn't too long. I just got into a vibe, so it's probably like 25 minutes or something. But yeah. If you enjoyed it, like and drop me a comment. Let me know what kind of things you want to do with Luna. Let's say you're like, well, this thing is really critical to me when I work. So how would you do it in Luna? Let me know, and I'll either tell you you can or you can't, or here's how I think you can do it. Whatever it turns out to be. But anyways, y'all, have a good one, and peace.